Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Turn the echo up, Cruz. Way up. Shit like on Jackie Chan. Some of this linen, we back again.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Scotty Talks Philly Sports. Right back here with my main man, Willie.
Yeah.
We're actually going to have a really special guest, a good friend of ours, Nick. He's a Ravens Heat fan. We're going to talk about some topics later. Will's going to tell you about our stuff that our segments we're going to go through today.
Yeah, man. Today we're going to go over the Mahomes contract deal, which was exciting to hear. Then we're going to talk about the 2K covers with Zion, Luka, because we know a lot of people think that's the 2020 rivalry. And then we got Desean Jackson, which, you know, man, it's a big topic to talk about. Yeah. And then we have this fun topic to talk about with the starting bench and cutting with Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, and Baker Mayfield. And outside of that, we got two questions, and like my man Scotty said, we have our good friend joining along with us, man.
Yeah, so we got our good friend coming in. I'm starting Kyler, just so y'all know. But yeah, first, this has been a lot of news that's been coming out lately, you know, just a lot of small stuff I just want to touch on before we get started here. So just to start it off, you know, Dwight Howard said he's going to Orlando. How's that going to change things for the Lakers now? He was a big piece going down there, missing him, you know, and Avery Bradley. But now they're going down there with J.R. Smith and Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard gets paired back up with Anthony Davis. That's going to be a tough front court for teams in the West. And then, like I said, J.R. Smith, you know, got signed by the Lakers. He's heading down to Orlando with them. And he also mentioned today that he was fighting depression during his time off, you know. Time away from basketball, so I guess he was really going through it. The Cavs kind of blackballed him out of the league for a little bit, you know, by not releasing him, you know, when they knew they weren't contenders and he wanted to play for a contender. But yeah, he said he was feeling real depressed. He couldn't even play 2K because it like reminded him of basketball and stuff. Oh wow! But yeah,
and then they got that video that came out. Remember? They got that video that came out of him.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
So, the Nets, they found out they're going to lose Spencer Dinwiddie because he actually tested positive for coronavirus twice now. So he just kind of said, you know, forget it. I got to deal with this. And apparently he's actually had, like, some symptoms. He's actually been dealing with some stuff. So, totally understandable. Bradley Beal opted out of going down to Orlando from the Washington Wizards. He was the second leading scorer in the NBA right now, so that's pretty interesting. That's a big loss for the Wizards. Obviously, they weren't contending anyways. But just interesting to see, you know, the dominoes falling as we get closer and closer to the NBA returning and MLB returning. Which, speaking of, you know, just recently it was confirmed that Scott Kingery, Tommy Hunter, and Hector Neris both tested positive for coronavirus for the Phillies. So they were 3 of the 8 that were mentioned, I think, that got COVID. So those were the 3 players. Also, I just wanted to say about the Phillies, you know, sign JT Realmuto back. Get it over with. You traded Sixto Sanchez for him. That was our best pitching prospect. What are we waiting for, you know? There's actually a cool video that we'll show later where, you know, JT Realmuto today, he hit a home run in an empty baseball park, and you could just hear Bryce Harper yell out, "Sign him!" So, like, Bryce Harper's, like, putting the pressure on the Phillies management, you know, like, if you don't do what your superstar says, then we're going to have some issues, you know what I mean, when he's blatantly doing this publicly. And then finally, I just wanted to talk about, you know, Embiid. He was talking about how he's in shape and stuff now. Tobias Harris said he's in shape. Ben Simmons said that he's seen him, you know, he's in shape. Embiid was in a press conference today, and he kind of, well, actually it was yesterday, but he kind of just talked about how he's going to be in shape for Orlando, how he doesn't really agree with going down there, but he's going to do it for his team and for the city, which I truly appreciate. Because that would be such a big piece to lose, and, you know, what's the point at that point? But, yeah, and then he was also talking about how, like, the quarantining down there won't, like, really affect him because all he does is play video games. Embiid's always an interesting character, man. But I'm glad he's headed to Orlando, and I'm glad I'm hearing he's in like great shape. But now we'll welcome our guest Nick in right after this break.
Yep. And I know you've been saying your prayers and eating your vitamins, but I got one thing to say. What you gonna do when Flyers Mania runs wild on you?
All right, so I want to welcome a very special guest to Scotty Talks Philly Sports. It's one of my good friends, Nick. He's a friend from back home in Maryland. So welcome to the show, Nick.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I have just my house as the background.
It's all good. We're just playing around with these little virtual backgrounds. What's up, man? How are you doing?
I'm good, just working.
Getting through without sports.
On the way. And now I'm
another baby. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
It's exciting stuff. Second kid, man.
Yeah. Well, there's no sports right now, so
I feel you, man.
Hey,
I'm excited to
get after it.
At least talk about something for a little while with you guys.
Yeah, get some sports in, man.
Right.
Man, appreciate you having on. You're always a good friend, man. And we got several things to talk about, but first we want to talk about Mahomes and that contract, obviously.
Mahomes contract.
Yeah, man. So how you guys feeling about it, man?
So first, I guess I'll just, kind of go through the basics of, the contract. I mean, it was huge. 10 years, $503 million, with incentives. 141 million is all that's guaranteed, even with injury incentives. Largest cap hit will be 60 million in 2027. It'll never dip below 40 million after 2025. And I was actually listening to Chris Long's podcast earlier, and he kind of talked about how he's, the salary cap's going to keep increasing, which means the quarterback's pay is going to keep increasing. So it's likely that he'll probably want to restructure before he even gets, halfway through that contract, just so he's making, money with the rest of the league, the rest of the quarterbacks in the league. So yeah, Super Bowl MVP in his first year starting. How do you feel, Nick? Do you think he deserves it? Do you think it was a good deal?
I think he deserves every bit of it. I know you touched on the guaranteed money, which I think was a good deal on both ends because, he gets his money and with it's like 31% guaranteed, which I think is one of the smaller guarantees.
Yeah.
Which allows for restructure, which doesn't hurt the Chiefs as much. So it allows them to still build around him while he's getting his money at the same time.
Right. Because I saw it was like a really low cap hit for like the first year of the restructure.
Right. So, a couple years down the road, like you said, with his deal, the entire quarterback market is increased now.
Right.
No matter whether they're as good as Patrick Mahomes or not, the entire market is now up. So
right, exactly.
If he's still doing this, then they might just restructure, give him some more money.
Because that's kind of what they were getting at on that other podcast. In order for him to like play out that contract, he would kind of have to play like middle of the pack, you know what I mean? Like maybe win some years and then like do really bad other years, which is not likely to happen.
Right.
Have like an up and down career for the rest of his career, which this isn't likely. But yeah, do you think, how do you feel about that 10-year contract? Do you think they'll be able to get any more Super Bowl rings in there? Like how likely do you think? Or how many should I say? Yeah. How many? Yeah.
Oh, it's very likely he gets more.
Right.
As a Ravens fan, with being in AFC, I hope it's not many more. But
Mars got to get one.
He's been a starter for 2 years, and he's already done stuff that some Hall of Fame quarterbacks haven't done in their 15-year career.
Dan Marino.
So, with this deal, the Chiefs, to me, it shows that the Chiefs think that he can be the best quarterback ever. Like, groundbreaking deal. And
that's kind of what I was thinking too, is like what that shows me from him is that he wants the team to have the funds to support, to give him a good supporting cast So he's chasing Tom Brady. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He wants more than 6 rings. Like he's chasing him.
Tom Brady did. He took a deal where he's getting paid, but the way that it's set up, it still allows the team to pay other players as well.
Exactly. And then I also saw like a bunch of like comparisons. They were comparing like his contract to like Mike Trout's and Bryce Harper. All these baseball players. But I just wanted to point out that like it's not really a good comparison because baseball money is always fully guaranteed.
Right. Yeah.
So Mike Trout's getting that entire contract where Dak or Mahomes is only getting like you said 31% of the contract. So I have one more question about it. Kind of like, binds into one, I guess. Dak, Lamar, Watson, I feel like these are the next, 3 young, good quarterbacks due to get an extension, I should say. They're all in a little bit of different situations. In my opinion, I think Lamar is elevated up above the other two. I think he's a top 3 quarterback in the league in my eyes. And then you got Watson and Dak, who are kind of in the same level, but they're in different years of their contract now. I was just wondering how you feel, about those 3 quarterbacks, like what you think might happen to those guys as far as extensions going forward.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it impacts Dak as much because, I mean, to me, it was always about Dak committing to the team as long as they wanted him to commit. So, like, he didn't really want to go past that 4-year mark. So, if anything, I think Jerry Jones will look and be like, well, look at this guy who just committed for 10 years.
Right.
And, you're not even giving me more than 4. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it could work in Dak's favor or it could work in Jerry's favor.
Right.
With Lamar, I think depending on what Lamar asked for, it's going to work in his favor. Like,
right.
He's like taking the steps to become, it's going to be him and Mahomes in the AFC. So,
yeah.
Unanimous MVP his first year as a full year starter. And I think we got to play out how next year works for him. And then he's probably going to get something along the same lines per year. I don't know if it'll be as long because of his play style, but he's going to get paid.
Because in my opinion, once again, I know a lot of people were saying like Patrick Mahomes is like the best player in the league. I think he's the best quarterback, but I think Lamar Jackson is the best player, doing the most on the field at once. Yeah. But then even with like Deshaun Watson, I could see him like, requesting a trade if this season doesn't go right. I mean, the Titans look better than them. The Colts are always, decent. I mean, they got Phillip Rivers in there. So, I mean, they'll be competing. And then the Texans wanted to trade away his best weapon. So it was like they did get Brandon Cooks and they still got Will Fuller and Kenny Stills. Just speedy, but I don't know. David Johnson for DeAndre Hopkins, that's not a very good deal.
Yeah. Well, in the Texans organization, just like, to me, it's so like, it's just not run very well because for years you had great receivers and like Andre Johnson, and then you get DeAndre Hopkins, and you finally get a quarterback. I mean, look at the quarterbacks Andre Johnson played with.
Yeah, Matt Schaub and David Carr.
And because the head coach and him butt heads, they trade him for, a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, whatever it was. Like, it was ridiculous what they got back for Andre Hopkins.
I know it pissed me off because I wish the Eagles would have done it, but I guess we wouldn't have the money to like retain him.
Yeah.
But I could see him requesting a trade. Honestly,
exactly.
I could see it.
The players got to be unhappy with the front office and the head coach with that. And I mean, you take away a quarterback's favorite target that can change his total, his thoughts on the team.
Yeah, his career even.
Yeah.
And then with Dak, I don't get why he doesn't want, that long-term contract. I don't get why he doesn't want that stability. You can always restructure. I don't – because, like, what if he doesn't play that good this year? Because he should, with all the weapons. Like, he should play, even better than he did last year almost. I mean, which he played really good last year. It was just – well, he had good numbers, I should say, but – it was just really weird how they went like 8-8 with all those weapons. Yeah. It was great numbers by him, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah, and Dallas is always really talented. And I mean, I'm a big Ezekiel Elliott fan coming from Ohio
Right.
State, and I think they just run when the offense was run through him, they were winning more games. And I thought last year that they were trying to make Dak like prove that he was worth that money. And yeah, he had a lot of yards. I think he had like 4,900 yards. I forget how many touchdowns he had. I have it written down somewhere over here. But they only won 8 games. Like that to me shouldn't be like, oh yeah, let's make him the highest paid quarterback in the league now for winning 8 games.
Yeah, because if you look at who they were playing against in that Week 16 matchup against the Eagles, excuse me, we had our practice squad players in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know the Cowboys fans like to say like Dak was injured or whatever, but if that's the case, then just feed Zeke because that's how they beat us anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like it's a fact. Like whenever Zeke gets over like 25 carries against us, they win. You know what I mean? They've won a majority of the games that we played since Zeke and Dak came in the league. So it just doesn't make sense to me. Hopefully McCarthy doesn't go like pass heavy. I know they got like a crazy receiving core. But, I think the run game is always the way to go. Even with Wentz, I prefer us not to, air it out with Wentz either.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you look at like Dak's rookie year, they went 13-3, and Zeke was, getting
like
his
the
most
best.
Carries. Like I think he had the most carries in the league that year by like 50 carries or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He was killing it as a rookie.
I mean, I get you can't kill your running back, over the course of his career is going to slow down the more you do that. But it's like I thought they were trying to make Dak prove like his worth too much.
Right. And that's like like even like Todd Gurley, dude, like what was going on in LA, man? That shit didn't make any sense. But yeah, I guess we'll move on to the next segment.
Yeah, we can, man, and then we can talk about the 2K covers if you guys want. With Zion and Luka. So
all right, yeah. So it came out like a couple days ago or whatever. That Zion was going to be on the cover as well as Damian Lillard and then Kobe on the Legendary Edition. I was on Twitter, talking, and I got like a lot of negative feedback on the Zion being on the cover because a lot of people just wanted to see Luka on the cover. And I mean, rightfully so. I mean, he's got great numbers this year. Even his rookie year, he had great numbers. So I was just kind of wondering where you guys stand as far as who would you guys pick to put on the cover?
I was saying earlier Zion, but I was saying how Luka is. He's right there. He's very creative. You know what I mean? Like that guy's.
Yeah.
He's got better points. Per average. I mean, he's just creative. Every time I see him, he grabs the ball and he seems so like. Everything he does, he can shoot at any range, and I just like that from him. You know what I mean?
He's fluid, man. He's smooth.
Yeah, I mean, Luka does everything really well, but to me, like Zion is like the tickets. Like you're gonna get your ticket sales out with Zion. Like people come watch Zion. He's only had 19 games or whatever it is, and he's increasing your ticket sales like the amount so much already.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Duke games how much the Duke games were with him there. So
yeah, every single Duke game was on ESPN, literally, like every single game. Even against South Fulton, you know what I mean? Like who the hell is that? Like, but yeah, I'm on the Zion train. I know Luka's got some great numbers this year. But Zion was coming off the injury. I know that's a worry, longevity. But as far as the 2K cover, I'm going Zion. That's marketability.
Exactly.
The way I looked at it is that it didn't matter how Luka performed, as long as Zion was playing this year and like putting up decent numbers, they were going to put him on the cover because they've been, fiending for him since high school.
Yeah.
Like everybody has. As soon as he comes out of college, he gets $100 million deal from Jordan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think as far as marketability, definitely Zion. I mean, so what about, if you were starting a franchise, like where would you go in that end, man?
I had some, I had some trouble deciding between the two because, I mean, we have such a small sample size for Zion in the NBA. With Luka, I mean, points, they were pretty average their rookie years. Luka, rebounds the same. Luka had a decent amount more assists, but they're two different positions. I would probably still go Zion simply for the fact that we haven't seen somebody as like physically dominant since like LeBron and Shaq are the two people I like think of when I think of like just being able to dominate the game with your body pretty much. And you know,
like unstoppable
stuff will come. I mean, all the experience, you know, he's only 20 years old, but
I just remember like his go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like you can build around them both. So for me, it's like, you know, I can get shooters for Zion. I can get a point guard, but you can't teach that just physical dominance that he's going to bring every day.
What about you, Will?
I mean, like I said, I would definitely – I agree with what you said, Nick, because, like, he does bulldoze to everybody. And that's what I love seeing him, like, as a power forward. But you can definitely get shooters for him and stuff for sure, you know. I think the upcoming season with the Pelicans, that's going to be so cool because, you know, he didn't get injured enough. I'm excited. I'm interested
to see Zion in the playoffs. Yeah, if they can make the playoffs, that would be really dope. You know, just coming off that
LeBron.
Right. That would be awesome to see that, yeah. And, I mean, even when they played the Lakers earlier in the season, like, I'm pretty sure the Lakers won one of them. They, like, split them while Zion was playing. But, like, Zion cooked.
Yeah.
Like, he had 39 in one game, you know what I mean?
Sorry.
And that's against Anthony Davis, you know, that matchup. Right. And that's what I kind of worried about for Zion coming into the NBA was his, like, height. But it's not a challenge. He's just he's so much stronger. He just moves you out of the way. Like,
yeah.
So that goes, that game looked at his marketing, like, capabilities or him being marketable, because look how much hype the Zion versus LeBron shit was already. And he's like, I don't even know if he was 20 years old yet at the time. I know he is now. You know, it's like, I don't know. I know there's players that come in every few years that people are like, oh, LeBron's going to get knocked off his pedestal. But I don't think people are saying that yet. But this definitely feels like the next, you know, big thing in the NBA.
Yeah.
Just so everybody, you know, that's watching knows, I am like a huge Duke fan. So, you know, I'm going Zion. I can pull this out for you. You know what I'm saying?
Steve Kerr on the back.
You see Steve Carell.
Yeah, that didn't work out well, but I mean, I'm going Zion kind of for the same reasons Nick says. You know, just that unstoppable force. I see with Luka, you know, he's a guy that's he's gonna have the ball in his hands more. You know, he's gonna be more on the creative side. But, you know, I know some of the worries with Zion, it's like, can he shoot? You know, is he going to shoot? Is all good for his layups and rebounds, dunks? But I think even on that first game back, you know, coming off the injury, he came back out and he scored like 19 points in the fourth quarter or something, brought the Pelicans back from down, you know, double digits and hit like 4 threes in a row. So, I mean, he showed that he can shoot, you know. And the way you have to respect him on the drive, he's always going to get open shots because he doesn't really have a jump shot. It's more of like a set shot. He doesn't really like jump with it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, pick your poison. You know, they're both great. I think they're going to both be Hall of Fans. The only thing that concerns me with Zion is his health, you know, carrying all that weight around.
Right, sure.
But they said he lost 35 pounds, you know, going into this playoffs.
We're talking
looks
about
like a tank.
Weight, and he still is just huge.
Right. He's like, douche.
He had on like the Bane mask.
Yeah.
You'll see
that. With Luka, though, I mean, he's putting up crazy numbers, like 29, almost 9-9. That's like insane. Yeah. But it's just like
it's hard to go against it, you know.
Yeah, but to me, the Mavericks just like don't seem intimidating. Like at all, in my opinion.
Because it's like if he has an off night, you know what I mean? Whereas Zion's just going to dunk on you.
Right, yeah. But I don't know. It's hard to compare because, I mean, we've seen Luka now for 2 full years in the NBA, and we've seen Zion for a couple months before things got shut down. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, straight up. I mean,
well, the way you said about Mavericks is how I feel about the Pelicans too, though. The same way I feel about those two teams.
Yeah, but
it's not intimidating.
Yeah, I agree. But there's also it's just going back to the hype thing. Like we were hyping up 20-year-old Zion and the Pelicans going against the number 1 seeded Lakers and LeBron James.
Right.
You know, when's the last time you like put a primetime on? They're like, you know, Mavericks might take down the Lakers or
because this is not really good matchups. You know, like the thing with Zion also is I think he just plays like winning basketball. You know, he'll dive on the floor, he'll strip the ball from people, he just overpowers everybody. He just plays hard on top of like his athletic ability. He plays really good defense. I mean, it's like, you know, pick your poison, but Zion's that dude, man.
Yeah.
But so I guess we'll move on to what Desean Jackson.
Yeah, man. We can talk about that. About the anti-Semitic. What do we say there? Anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Not funny, man. I'm laughing because
we're not laughing.
We were talking about it earlier, and like I had never heard that word before, and that's very probably ignorant of me. These guys have heard the word before. I've just never heard that word before, so I had to look up what it meant. And it seems like it's just like another word for racism, just specifically towards Jewish people. But yeah, like 2 days ago, I guess, well, not guess, he did do it. He posted some very ignorant quotes on Instagram story, immediately got ridiculed for it, tried to come back and, you know, take some of the quotes away and say, I meant this part. It was still bad. Let me see what the quotes actually are right here. So one went like, I'm just laughing because it's totally stupid as hell. Like he's a dumbass,
that's why
you know what I mean?
Oh man.
And so I'll stop joking around about it, honestly. So he said Jews will blackmail America. And then another one said they will extort America. Their plan for world domination won't work if the Negroes know who they are. So what I took from that, I did a little bit of research. I'm not very familiar with Judaism. So basically what those quotes were trying to say is that, you know, the Jewish people are trying to, they tried to, you know, diminish black people to Americans. You know, they were putting us as slaves because they didn't want the Americans to know that the black Jewish people, the Israelites, were actually the original disciples of Jesus. And they didn't want America to see that of black people because they didn't want them, they're saying that Jewish people wanted to come and take over the world and dominate America. And obviously it was, you know, derived from Adolf Hitler theories. You know, it said it was an Adolf Hitler quote, but it actually came out, I guess, that it was a fake quote, which I don't know why people are making fake quotes for Adolf Hitler. That's just weird. Overall, I thought it was just totally off base. I was really confused by it. I've had 2 days to think about it, and I still can't fathom where you get off quoting Hitler at all. You know, I mean, he's like the human version of like the devil. Like I don't, like he committed genocide on multiple populations. You know, I didn't get it. You know, I know there's comparable situations, but just for this individual situation, just very ignorant. What do you guys think?
Well, to me, it just seemed like, I mean, I know the climate of the country right now is you know, emotions are high with certain subjects. To me, it felt like he saw something online and without really thinking or kind of fact checking or, you know, really knowing any of the facts about what he was posting, he just thought it would be, you know, a good thing to post it for whatever reason.
Right.
Even like you said, if it was not really quoted from Hitler, I mean, he assumed it was by posting it because it said it right there. Like, why would you
Right.
post a fake if you knew it was fake? I don't know. I don't know why you posted either way, but a dumb thing to do. Wasn't really thinking, didn't look into it, or especially considering, his bosses, the people that run the Philadelphia organization are Jewish.
Jeffrey Lurie and Howie.
I don't understand it, man.
Yeah, so
very weird. He didn't think it through. Like, I don't understand,
not
man.
at all. And
I really don't.
I mean, he's never been in any type of situation like this. I really, with his apology, I think it was sincere, and I don't think he meant any ill will towards the Jewish community. I think it was just a dumb thing to do, and he didn't really think it through. And maybe he was, emotional about, some things that are going on right now, and felt like that was something that, I don't know, I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah, because the way he like worded his apology was like, I was just trying to inspire my people, the African American people in America. But it's like, what were you trying to inspire? What did you want to make us mad at Jewish people? What else do you get out of those quotes? I don't get it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not Jewish or anything, but it does seem, it just seems kind of pointless to uplift, your people while also like trying to pin them against white Jewish people. And
right. When the goal is like equality, that's the point. Really unity.
The quotes either, like, extort America. I don't know. It didn't really make sense to me.
Like I said, I don't have any. Man. Yeah. Go ahead,
but I was saying, like, when I read it, I was like, why don't people do the research before they say these things? You know what I mean? I don't know, like, did he get that off Twitter or something?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, did he repost like somebody else's post? Or
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. See, so it sounds like he just was like, saw something and maybe it got him fired up, and he reposted it for, everyone that follows him, which is a large following, to see.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now he's going to like meet with this David Edelman. He's like the chair of the Holocaust Memorial in Philadelphia. So he's going to meet with him and have like an education session. Probably end up, donating to a couple, Holocaust and Jewish funds. But overall, to make up for it, he's going to have to like go out of his way publicly, to show admiration of the Jewish culture. He's going to have to go out of his way. It wasn't necessarily his duty before, but he basically assigned it to himself now.
Sure.
No matter what, if he gets cut by the Eagles, if he doesn't, which, by the way, do you think that the Eagles should, or do you think that they will? Like, what do you guys think?
Mm-mm. Nah.
I personally don't think so either.
Nah,
I don't think so. So I was letting Will. I don't think they should. I mean, going back to him, he's never made this type of mistake before.
Right.
And I think the Eagles kind of made a mistake the last time they traded him. So, not that has anything to do with this.
No, I agree though. Yeah.
But I do think they need to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, hey, because wasn't it some weird stuff with like they were trying to say he was related with
gangs and throwing up gang signs and stuff.
So I mean,
totally illiterate.
Not that excuses what he's done, but I think they need to work with him. Like you said, he's got to do some work, and hopefully he which I think. Him going and meeting with that guy, I think that's what people should do. If you're ignorant on a subject, you should learn about the subject.
What else can you do?
Understand why you're apologizing. I think a lot of times people are just like, yeah, I'm sorry, I said something stupid, and they don't really know why they're sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And to a sense, exactly. And to a sense, I mean, that's what he was doing, apologizing. He doesn't really even know. Like, for him to post it in the first place, he doesn't know. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it wasn't sincere. I think he got the backlash and he felt like really remorseful about it.
Sure.
But I think he didn't understand why he got the backlash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is really bad in reality.
Yeah, I think he feels bad that, he did something that was harmful to people. But like you said, I do think he is still kind of ignorant on the subject. But
Right.
I think he's sincere in wanting to move forward with it and learn.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
And,
when I read the apology when he was going to learn, I said the same thing, man. I was like, yeah, at least he's one of those guys that is actually going to go out there to, you know, change his behavior.
actually try to change and show it.
Yeah.
And, like,
Exactly.
you know, if the Eagles cut him, I mean, what's the point? You know, somebody else is going to pick him up. Like, it's not something that you're going to get kicked out of the league for, obviously. I mean, you look at, like, Jake Fromm, Richie Incognito.
I think Jake Fromm,
Josh Allen.
That didn't get enough attention, in my opinion. I mean,
see, and that's what I was kind of like. That's what I was kind of like getting at in my article that I released earlier today. It was like, I'm not defending Desean Jackson. I'm just saying that if we're gonna do this to him, then it should have been done to them. You know what I mean? Like, just because Jake Fromm isn't, you know, a 3-time Pro Bowler, you know, the leader all time in 60+ yard touchdowns or whatever.
Right.
Just because Jake Fromm hasn't done anything doesn't mean that he shouldn't be exposed and put on this stool. Because, you know, Desean Jackson made national media. Like, he's on ESPN.
Right.
He's getting blasted by everybody. You know what I mean? And you just didn't see that with the Jake Fromm. I mean, the Josh Allen stuff kind of, you know, on draft night, I think he slid a little bit because of that stuff. But
and even I mean, Riley Cooper, I know you mentioned in your article. That was pretty big news. He didn't get punished very much. Now I think if that happened today, because
gone.
It was on video, like that was worse than, you know, a text message about, you know, elite whites should own guns.
Right.
That was a little, you know, they got you on video saying that, so. I think it would have been a little different in today's, you know, climate, which it should have been the same back then. But
you know,
I mean, I think they should punish him along the same lines as what happened with him. I mean, he got suspended for he got a couple days off work, and that was pretty much it. You know, I mean, I don't think it should be super high repercussions as long as he's following through with learning and
The way I look at it, though, is, I mean, as far as, like, punishment, you know, because Riley Cooper, he basically got a slap on the wrist, you know.
Right.
You get a week off from training camp. You know what I mean? Like,
vacation.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a vacation. And, you know, they were even saying, I heard something on an earlier podcast I was listening to. You know, it would have kind of been doing Riley Cooper a favor to cut him and not make him walk back into that room with a locker room full of African Americans. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he could just go home and chill with his friends, you know, and stay out of it. But instead, he had to go in and face his teammates. And I think they even got into, like, a couple scuffles. I know Michael Vick, like, really, like, talked to him. Which Michael Vick's another case, you know, of like a second
I was just about to say that.
And, you know, the dog fighting. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Because, like, you know, if Desean Jackson gets released, Andy Reid is going to pick that guy up for the loan. That's his guy. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and Andy Reid wasn't the one that traded him. It was Chip Kelly, right? I mean.
Right.
So if
it's like.
It was up to Andy Reid. If he was still in, you know, Philadelphia, he might have never left.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing that you pointed out, you know, how we released him or traded him back in 2013 or 14 or something like that.
To a division rival.
Yeah, to a division rival. And, you know, it was kind of like a stab in the back to him because he started his career here, played 8 seasons. And that season, right before he got traded or released, he put up his best numbers ever in his career. It was like 1,300. Yeah, 9 touchdowns. So, like, it just didn't really make sense. It seemed a little racist in itself.
Right.
And, you know,
I don't think
I just look at it.
Kelly's been not necessarily, you know, had racist allegations, but kind of like insensitive to certain topics.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's suspect.
He was a dick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, just with that, you know, him coming back and, like, the Eagles going out and, like, getting him from the Buccaneers, I just think he's more of, like, a family piece, you know, where you just wouldn't throw out your son if he said that, you know what I mean? You would try to teach him and educate him. And I think that's how Howie and Jeffrey Lurie look at it. I think they just look at him, you know, like a part of their family almost. He's been there so long. They brought him back in. You know, they kind of did him dirty on the way out. Of course, this doesn't have anything to do with it, you know, as far as like making up for that. But, and then also on the other end, you know, how's it look if, you know, two Jewish guys, you know, cut Desean Jackson, you know what I mean? And none of these other players have been cut. So then it kind of looks like, you know, and I'm not saying that's what it'll look like, because the way I'll assume it if they do cut him is that he wasn't making the right steps and he was still acting ignorant about it. Like, that's the only way I would see us cutting him. But it would look a little funny to, like, the public eye, you know, if two Jewish guys cutting him.
Now that you mention it, yeah.
That are all the other players that, you know, have said racial things. And even when you look at any player, I mean, in our generation, that the only one that I can really think of off the top of my head that has been pretty much like banned from the NFL for making a mistake is Ray Rice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he knocked somebody completely out.
Yeah, like, and we were talking about like Kareem Hunt, and you know he's and
see, and that one's weird because it's like, what's the difference between Kareem Hunt and, you know what I mean, and Ray Rice? I guess it's all about the situations, you know, and however they explained it, maybe, because Ray Rice was dragging her out by her hair out of him.
I mean, it was rough. That was rough.
When I seen that, I was like, ooh.
I couldn't believe it, honestly.
I think the Ravens would have given him a chance to stay, but he lied to them about the video and like,
and then it came out.
Happened, and then they're like, this is not what you said happened.
Right.
So,
and that's what I'm saying, like the Chiefs. Oh, yeah, when he was hitting his kid with the switch.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
Same with Tyreek Hill, man. Tyreek Hill was beating his kid, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying about the Chiefs, man. They'll take those chances, dude.
Yeah.
They really will, man. It's kind of weird, but, I mean, that's how Andy Reid's always been. He was like that here. He's the one that gave, you know, Mike Vick another chance.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
long story short,
just always been that guy.
I just realized that looking into this Mahomes stuff, I never realized Donovan McNabb had that
10-year or 12-year. Yeah.
12 years.
That's what Scotty was telling me,
Yeah, man. And he didn't like fulfill the entire contract because we ended up trading him to the Redskins. But just think about that. So that was like a 12-year, like $115 million contract. And now you look at Mahomes, and his guaranteed money is more than that. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I saw a chart today that had it was when Jim Kelly got his biggest deal, and he was the highest paid quarterback, and he was making like $1.2 million a year. And he was the highest paid quarterback.
Because after McNabb, I think it was Michael Vick who got the next largest.
Vick had the 10-year deal with the
Atlanta,
Falcons, and then all that happened.
Went to jail.
But I don't know if there's been one since then.
No, not 10 years. I don't think so. It's honestly crazy.
I didn't even realize people would do that anymore, and I was like.
Well, that's why when I heard it, I was like, what?
Insane.
10 years? Yeah. That's a long time.
I just circled back to
that's a question. That's a question I asked on Twitter earlier, was like, you know, if Wentz wins that Super Bowl by himself, he gets the Super Bowl MVP, he gets MVP that year because he was on pace to get the MVP that year. And, you know, it was his second season. So basically he would have done the same things that Patrick Mahomes did. So I was just wondering, you know, if the Eagles would, like, give him that contract. I don't know. Obviously now you wouldn't with his injury cases, but.
Right. Yeah, it would just – I mean, there's a lot of things that depend on it. And
yeah.
I mean, what was that, 2017?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And look what's happened since, you know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you would think that, you know, if you get a quarterback who's winning like this already so young – you know, say if Carson were to do that and they're putting up these numbers so young, it's like, we got to keep this guy around.
Right.
Whatever it costs.
The thing is with Mahomes, though, and I know, like, Carson, when he's at his best, he does have, like, some similar capabilities and stuff. But Mahomes, you know, is just bona fide, man. I don't know. He's just a winner. You know what I mean? Like, whenever he made that long run in the playoffs, I can't remember who it was against. It might have been the Titans. Where he broke a bunch of tackles and, like, got into the end zone.
Yeah. It was either the Texans or the Titans. I think it was.
Yeah, it was one of the two. Yeah, but that showed me right there because I knew he was a little mobile, but I didn't think he was like breaking off like 30,
Right.
40-yard runs. You know what I mean? But well, we're talking about quarterbacks again.
I know.
Yeah, I love. That's why you saying. I was like, I love it though.
It was like a whole other segment. You know what I mean?
Since we're talking about quarterbacks, we had the section of the start and the bench and the cut with Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, and Baker Mayfield, and we just want to hear your opinions, man.
Okay, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah,
I'll go first. I'll go start Joe.
Okay.
But the benching, I'm not gonna lie. I'll tell you why I was iffy about it. But I would bench Baker, and then cut Kyler. But the reason why I was gonna switch it though is because Kyler, the upcoming year he's gonna have Hopkins. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was like, but do I trust Kyler? Do I trust Kyler? Not really. That's the thing. So that's all I gotta say.
Going into his second year,
Yeah, exactly.
You want me to go next, or you want to?
I'll go ahead.
All right, cool.
I'll let you finish it up with the subject. But so I started Joe as well, I cut Baker Mayfield, I benched Kyler, and I started Joe. My easiest choice for me was cutting Baker Mayfield, to be honest. I just think he's not. If we're talking about starting a franchise right now with one of these three. You got your bad attitude problem, and you got way too many turnovers. And, he just had 21 interceptions with 22 touchdowns in the past year. So when Kyler, I think he has a high ceiling. I do worry about his height. I mean, he probably will prove me wrong. I don't know if it's going to affect him, but hopefully not. I hope he has, he does well. And then
with him running, it always scares you, him being so small.
Yeah, he's so small. And then with Joe, I think, I would have to go all in on Joe because he just had – when you're talking about these three young quarterbacks, Joe just had the best college football season that we've ever seen. He had 6,000 yards and 60 touchdown passes. Insane. I do worry.
Dude, he had a
before that, but
he had a 202.0 quarterback rating. Yeah.
Right, that was crazy. I do.
That's ridiculous.
I do worry about him. Just how much of it was Joe and how much of it was the
LSU
other first-round draft picks that are on the team.
Right. Plus, he didn't go to the best situation. Cincinnati. I mean, they got Joe Mixon up there. They got a couple receivers up there. Got A.J. Green back, but it's not like the best situation in that division even.
No, not at all. I mean, and they didn't really improve much from last year other than the quarterback. I mean, I guess they did a little bit, but, I think the Steelers are going to bounce back. The Ravens are where they're at, and the Browns are kind of a question mark every year now. But,
they're talented, but it's all on Baker, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's another thing with why I cut Baker is, I mean, he's got one of the best offensive weapon group in the NFL. You got Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Kareem Hunt, who we just talked about. What's the tight end's name? Njoku. He
just requested a trade.
Yeah, I know, but last year he had him. So I don't know. What would you do?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. They picked up Austin Hooper, so that's just another weapon they added for Baker.
Oh, man.
But I'm kind of on the same boat as you guys. I really wanted to put Joe as the starter, but I just trust Kyler Murray a little bit more. He kind of struggled with the interceptions last year, but definitely not as much as Baker. He had 12, which I hate seeing a quarterback go into double-digit interceptions for some reason. I just don't like it. I just think once you get to 10, you're careless. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean,
that's not necessarily true because shit happens. But the thing that sticks out with Kyler for me as well is I think he came in second in rushing yards for QB after Lamar Jackson. and because he had like 500 rushing yards, but so I mean, when you combine like his rushing and his passing, it just he's kind of like in that Lamar category of like that dual threat. But it is like you said with his height challenge. Right. He is somebody might call me like heightist.
Right, you better watch what you say, man.
Yeah, no, it's just you gotta watch. I mean, what you say, man.
It's a legit concern. Like, I don't get too wrapped up about when they make a big deal about their hand sizes. Like, it's like, all right, they obviously can throw the football. I don't care what their size is. But being, you go up to the NFL and you're how tall is Kyler Murray? Like 5'8"? I don't know.
Yeah, something. Anywhere from 5'8" to like 5'11" max. You know what I mean?
Like, there's no way he's over 6 foot, and you got 6'8" offensive tackle
lineman
coming at you.
I don't know.
So I would go start Kyler, bench Joe, cut Baker. Basically cut Baker for the same reasons. The talent around him and the 21 interceptions is just disgusting. But I mean, my thing with Baker is like you look at his rookie year and it just kind of like doesn't make sense. It's almost like he just wasn't going as hard last year or something, because he had 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions in his rookie year with a 93.7 QB rating. But it's like out of those 2 years, which one are you going to go with? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go with the shitty one, like, just cause. But I feel like this year is like, I don't want to call it like a make or break year because it's only his third season, but it's kind of like you're going to know what you have. You know what I mean?
I mean, how much could you invest in if there's no improvement made, then how much are you going to want to invest in somebody who – as the Browns organizations who's had how many quarterbacks in the last 20 years, I get they want to find someone, but don't force it into someone that is
exactly
going to be. Yeah. So, and I mean, and I don't want to blame it all on Baker. I mean, it's the organization as a whole, like, all these offensive coordinators and head coaches, it's like a revolving door.
Yeah.
I know the Ravens for a while, Joe Flacco in like 7 years had 6 different offensive coordinators, and he was getting a lot of the heat. But I try to, look at it both ways. Like, I mean, it's got to be hard learning, having different offensive coordinators each year.
Playbooks, yeah. So, and I mean, Joe Flacco, I mean, you saw him at his best, you know what I mean? So think that it's all his fault,
Yeah.
But I mean, he definitely dropped way down. But yeah, I know what you mean. But like even back to Joe, I mean, there's something in my mind that's telling me he's gonna like come out and cook. Like they won't have like a really good record or anything. They'll be at the bottom of the division, or maybe ahead of the Browns. You know what I mean? But I could just sit. Like, what if he comes out and just lights it up? I could see it. He's like that prototypical quarterback. That. Well, I should say like a pocket type, but he does have a little bit of mobility to him.
A little, but I think that's why I started Joe, is because with Baker and Kyler, you're not going to get like this crazy, amazingly talented quarterback,
right?
From what we've already seen, unless they improve, almost like a Lamar improvement from year 1 to year 2.
Right.
With Joe, it's like, hey, he might come out here and just light the world on fire.
Yeah.
I'm rolling.
Because I'm telling you, like the same reasons I liked like Carson Wentz coming out, that 6'5" stature, it's just like the perfect QB build. You know what I mean? I don't know. I like Joe Burrow a lot.
I do too. The only thing that does concern me is he had a very mediocre year the year before last year at LSU. His first year as a starter at LSU.
Yeah,
he couldn't win.
It's kind of a disappointment.
Job at Ohio State Dwayne Haskins, who I still think he can be a good NFL quarterback. He was great at Ohio State, but he couldn't be.
Well, he got screwed, going to the Redskins. That's what ultimately messed him up. Like, hopefully they can get it together for him.
But no, those are my only concerns about Joe. Is like you had that one amazing year. Everything else is like. You were a mediocre quarterback.
Right. Like, where's the consistency?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And he was also, 2 years older than all the other quarterbacks in the country last year because he was a fifth-year graduate or whatever. I mean, he's
for real.
Lamar Jackson.
Who do you think's the because you're real big into college football? Who do you think's like the number one quarterback next year coming out?
I mean, to me, it's my boy Justin Fields, Ohio State.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be them too. I think this year, it's Clemson and Ohio State.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, it's the same teams almost every year. Usually, you got Clemson and Ohio State and Alabama, and then for the fourth and fifth best teams, that kind of rotates a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, those two are definitely the ones to look for. Ohio State's got a great receiving core coming back. We just got the number one receiver in the country, Julian Fleming out of Pennsylvania. So,
he's added to the talent pool.
Are you still gonna be a fan of Chase Young?
Of course, I'm a fan of all my Buckeyes. I mean,
at least you got like two on the same team. You know what I mean?
So the Ravens was one of like 4 teams without any Buckeyes on their roster, and we just got 2 this year. So I'm good to go now.
I know you got J.K. Dobbins. Who's the other one?
He was a defensive line or a linebacker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think
I probably wouldn't know who it is.
the 4th round or 5th round.
Nice.
He'll be a solid role player. I mean, I look for J.K. Dobbins to have, a big year. I mean, Mark Ingram obviously.
He's a monster, dude.
Yeah, and we still got Mark Ingram, but J.K. Dobbins. I mean, he just had the best year in Ohio State history. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
How much longer do you guys have Mark Ingram? Is he gone after this year or what?
I think a year or 2.
I would just roll with Dobbins.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously the long-term choice. Mark Ingram is like 34, 35.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how old he is, but, he's like his 10th year in the league.
He's in his 30s for a running back, so I mean.
Yeah. I know – I'm pretty sure this is year 10. So, having J.K. Dobbins, I think Mark Ingram is a good role model for him.
Yeah.
He's a very team-oriented player. And
I think with Lamar Jackson's like style, J.K. Dobbins will kind of fit better too.
Yeah.
But it'll be exciting to see what the Ravens are about this year. We got a week 3 matchup.
Yeah,
we'll probably have you back on the show for that one
for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I guess we should wrap it up here.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, we got 2 questions, and Nick, I hope you can stick around for these.
Good.
Might as well answer them together, and it's from our buddy Jay Hong. And he says, why are teams pressured to release a player when they do something wrong, when they know another team would just grab them in a month and call it a second chance? It's kind of like what we talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's literally what we talked about earlier. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Kareem Hunt, why let him go if he's just going to get picked up by the Browns,
Mm-hmm.
And even I, whenever people do stuff, I'm like, yeah, take him, I wanted us to get Antonio Brown, you know what I mean? Like Josh Gordon, I wanted those guys.
I'd still take Antonio Brown for a low-risk contract.
Yeah, why not, man? If he acts up.
I'm surprised no one has it.
Yeah, exactly. If he acts up.
Somebody will.
So, yeah, he's going to get picked up.
Somebody's going to. He's been working out with too many people.
And he'd fit in perfect with us. And he gets to play
with the Eagles.
No, but yeah, I do think, I mean, going back to the question that, like we said earlier, I don't understand it. I think a lot of times they get forced into making the decision. They're like, well, if we
publicly.
If we don't punish him, then we're just okay with his behavior. Well, that's not the case. I mean,
yeah.
Put him on.
I know a bunch of go ahead.
He's like Drew Brees, we didn't even mention him. Like he said something, faulty in a sense, and could have gotten cut.
And a lot of the players were mad and upset, and then I think after they got past the raw emotion of what he said, I think they tried to use it as a learning moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do, and again with Drew Brees, I do think he was sincere in not realizing how hurtful his words were.
Yeah.
Because my thing with Drew Brees, when I heard it, it was like you almost don't even believe that he said it, but they have video of him saying it. Like, all I've ever known him for is like donating during Hurricane Katrina, giving back to New Orleans, everything like that. And like his to me wasn't necessarily, and I hate like comparing them, I guess. It wasn't necessarily on the same level as that, you know what I mean, with Desean Jackson. But he was just more tone deaf, you know what I mean? He's saying like his grandparents was in the World War. Well, so were black people's, you know what I mean? So it's not like they're kneeling to the, you know, flag or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like I said, you got to read the room. Like, look at what's going on right now. You know, even if that's what you think, keep it to yourself right now. Like,
it's not the time, man.
No, not saying I, you know, think that's what somebody should think, but it's not the time.
He should just led by action.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, somebody's gonna give him another chance. It's not worth it.
So we got another question from our buddy D-Rab. And he said, would you want us to look towards free agents, possibly make a trade? If we were to, like, you know, for the Desean Jackson kind of deal?
If we were to, like, cut him?
Yeah, if we were to cut him, or would you give that roster spot for one of the young receivers to be drafted that would most likely be cut otherwise?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously I'd prefer to go, you know, Antonio Brown or Josh Gordon, like that route. Like, I would prefer, but I doubt the Eagles would. I know we drafted a guy, Quez Watkins, in the 6th round, John Hightower in, like, the 5th round, so some late-round speed guys that kind of, you know, if we were to cut Desean Jackson, they kind of play the same way. They're just that deep threat. Nobody's a deep threat like Desean Jackson, but I mean, I would be cool with either one, honestly, but I would expect the Eagles to go, you know, the youth route with the draft picks. I know there's been, I think there was a receiver that was made available recently. I can't remember who it was. I really can't remember. It's not even worth bringing it up.
But who did we draft today again, man? If you can let me know.
Oh, we signed our draft pick, Quez Watkins, today.
Does that give you a scare?
Everybody was freaking out. Yeah. No, because, like, you know, if that was the case, like, Jalen Reagor hasn't even been signed yet, you know, and it's not like we're not going to sign him. So it's like, if you're going to react that way to Quez Watkins, how are you going to act when we sign Jalen Reagor? Because he's going to be, he was the 1st-round draft pick. I didn't think too much into it. What'd you say?
It'd be different if you went out and got, like, a free agent off the market.
Right. Because we were going to sign these guys no matter what and put them on the practice squad, you know what I mean? But any more questions, or is that all we got for tonight?
That's all we got tonight, man.
All right, cool, man. Guess we'll wrap it up. Just remember, go like and subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us at ST Philly Sports 1 on Instagram and Twitter. Please come out, follow us, you know, interact with us. We're always looking for interactions. I'm always hitting up Nick to see what he thinks. Glad to have you on the show, Nick. It was a pleasure. It's always good talking to you.
Yeah. Can't wait to
be back, man. Yeah, we'll have you back for the Ravens game. That'll be fun.
Yeah, man.
That's going to be
By the way,
it
thank you for
tonight.
supporting, man.
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah. No, I think you guys have.
I do appreciate that, man.
And, you know, keep doing your thing. And, you know, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the support. And that's going to be a wrap for us tonight. Scotty Talks Philly Sports. We're out.
He's saying peace. All right. And a good night.